Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, a doctor-prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce my guest today, Dr. Joshua Wright, the founder of Pivotal Health Systems. Dr. Wright specializes in chiropractic care and holistic wellness. He helps patients achieve optimal health through personalized, evidence-based treatment. As a single father, he values resilience, balance, and compassion. He has a faith-based approach to care, emphasizing integrity, kindness, and community. Welcome, Josh. Thank you so much for being here today.
This is a great place to be. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. So, what inspired you to enter the field of chiropractic medicine?
I love to work with my hands, and science has always fascinated me. And it was instilled in me by my father to help others. And as I matured, those three passions merged into chiropractic.
Wonderful. There's so many different approaches to chiropractic care. Every person I meet in this field has a different way of going about it. What would you say you specialize in?
I love that about chiropractic.
Yeah.
And there are some within the profession, and rightly so, will say that holds us back because there's a bit of a lack of a uniform standard of care. And I tell patients going to a chiropractor is a lot like going to a concert or a restaurant. It kind of begs the question, okay, what type? And I think in this sense, a diversity in technique is our strength because it's still a relatively young profession. I just started in, 1895. So there's a lot of development. So my primary technique is applied kinesiology.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's the application of kinesiology, of muscle testing, a way to check in with the body, with the mind, and see where stress is. I look at the spine like it's, and many chiropractors share this perspective, but I look at the spine like it's a fuse box.
Okay.
And during hurricane season, if a house is overwhelmed electrically, what will happen? The fuses will flip over to protect the house. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's enough stress, people say, yeah, I hold all my stress in my shoulders, or I hold all my stress in the lower back. There's typically an area someone will hold stress in their body. What can happen is the body, to not be overwhelmed neurologically, it will start to flip those switches over. And that makes me the glorified fuse switch flipper guy. And not to diminish the power and the beauty of the adjustment, but that's how I see it. It's resetting, reestablishing the God-given connection between mind and body so that innate wisdom can flow over our nervous system and hormonal system, and just do what we're designed to do.
I love that. So, applied kinesiology, you also describe it as muscle testing. So, let's say I come in with a particular ailment. How do you use that technique to figure out what's wrong with me?
It starts with a very thorough consultation and evaluation. Because if someone comes in and says it hurts here, pop me, essentially, I gotta slow them down. There's a therapeutic, as I'm sure you see with patients, there's this therapeutic aspect to even just talking through the problem, where it isn't, I have this pain. Now it's, I've had this pain since I was in a car accident 30 years ago. And this pain, actually, I'm not even able to play pickleball anymore because I tried, but now the pain's holding me back. And then this past weekend, I went to play with my grandkids on the floor, and I couldn't even, they had to help me stand back up. So now it isn't just this pain that I'm feeling. Now this is my life, and I don't have the quality of life that I want. So if someone brings it in, I'm able to get my mind in the game. I've done chiropractic mission trips where there was a language barrier, so I know how to work with people and just say, okay, this is what it is, and work. But I like to have my heart in it as well. So taking that time to understand how the pain or dysfunction, how that's affecting someone's life. Now there's motivation. Now there's an intention beyond just getting the body. And that takes it out of this mechanistic view. Now we're dealing with a human being. So once that and all all the risk factors and everything is considered, then let's say it's a hip issue. I do what I call it's a hip audit, and the muscle testing, we're going to look on the front of the hip, side of the hip, back of the hip, test the hip flexors, a muscle called the TFL, tensor fasciae lata, the glute muscles, and we make sure that they're able to, function, but if they're able to function against resistance.
Okay.
And the best metaphor I have for this is a power play in hockey. So you have, I think it's 5 players on the ice. And in the hip, let's say one of the muscles, for whatever reason, he had bad posture for a season, or he's sitting too much. Sitting is the new smoking these days.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And let's say because sitting too much, the hip flexors, then they redesign themselves to be shorter. And now they're not able to contract because their default setting is to be shorter. Now those muscles aren't able to move properly when we walk. So then standing up, whenever I stand up, I just have this feeling of imbalance and instability. So I do a muscle test and I ask the body, hey, does this muscle work? It doesn't. Then we can put blocks in a certain position and start to, or have the head look one way, or stimulate the body neurologically, and ask a second question. Okay, if this isn't working, if we were to have your other knee up, or if I were to put pressure right into the muscle belly itself, or even if I were to have you drink half a cup of water, does that, and it's such a conservative test, and it takes 5 seconds, as long as there's the understanding of this is how things correlate. If this isn't working and we do this, does this help? And to me, that's a conversation with the body. I try
Science,
to stay, yes,
right?
That's the hypothesis. And when I get feedback from the body, it keeps me humble, because, like I said, I used to enjoy people watching. I used to love being in airports. I used to love going out, and I'd see, oh, wow, look at the world. So many people. This is wonderful. Now I go out and I judge everybody's posture relentlessly. I wish it wasn't so. But very quickly from a postural evaluation, I can start to get an idea how I can make a difference for someone. But using AK, or applied kinesiology, it keeps me humble, where there's always going to be a filter between the therapy that I provide and what the patient's body is truly asking for. Because there's this innate intelligence within all of us. It heals paper cuts. It took the sperm and the egg. It made the baby. It gives us dreams. It's this. It's I call it the drummer of the heart. It just keeps everything beating, right?
The body's smart.
And as smart as it is, it needs to be honored, needs to be respected, and it could do so much more for us if it wasn't limited.
So you just mentioned you did a mission, a chiropractic mission. So I had the honor of doing a medical mission last year, but what is a chiropractic mission?
It starts with carrying about a 70-pound table through a couple of airports. But it was a chiropractic-specific mission trip to El Salvador, and it was such a blessing. We had such a great crew. The people who ran the trip were fantastic. There was a lot of experience, and there was also a lot of young blood on the trip, just willing to learn and to grow. So,
Did you have a group of chiropractors go?
yes.
Great.
Yeah.
It was organized through an organization, and what sorts of things did you do in El Salvador?
We would again carry our tables onto the bus and unload and set up in like a town square, and someone would yell out "Quiropracticos aquí," and then lines would form, and we would have some translators, and we would work through and do conservative care, and just try to get people from a point A to a point B. And I loved it. I'm a huge animal lover.
Yes.
I have a little parrot. I got 2 cats. I love animals because it's an opportunity to have communication without any words. And so being able to be of service, working through a translator, and seeing a smile from someone that we were able to help without even just directly communicating, knowing that healing can transcend that. So that same principle of connecting even without words, just with energy and intention and experience, that was one of my primary takeaways.
Well, and giving the gift of getting somebody out of pain is, there's no value to that.
Yeah, because who
What
knows
I mean
where
is
it'll go.
you can't put a price on it. There's much value in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do put a price on it, and you might have to fluctuate that a bit. But yeah, who knows what it means to someone? Like I mentioned earlier, this could mean holding a child without pain. It could mean getting back into a sport. It could mean getting better sleep. And so, yeah, getting out of pain is great. But the point B I always try to set with patients is, okay, how's this going to affect your life? What are you going to do? If you can sleep through the night, what does that change?
Yes.
And I love to celebrate success. I love to celebrate every small step along the way. And then when we get to a big step, there's a celebration, because that's what we're working towards. And if we can get from here to here, maybe we can go beyond point B to point C and D, E, F. Got to dream big.
And it can be so rewarding to help somebody get their life back and give them that quality they're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. There's this, I guess would be an exponential curve, because typically as you get to know someone outside of practice, just with experience, there's this like linear growth. The more experience you have with someone, the more you get to know them. But when someone's in pain, they're not themselves. Remember the Snicker commercials? Like, yeah,
I'm angry.
yeah, and hurt people in a way. And I'm not trying to diminish the people that are in pain, but it does affect how we interact. Yeah. So typically, in my practice, my assistants and I, we get to form connections with people when they're not fully themselves. Yet as they're getting out of pain, we're also getting to know them better. So there's this like amazing explosion of getting to know someone as they become more themselves. And I feel like I get to know people very quickly. And that's why I think last I checked, about 80% of people who finish an initial program with us do continue on with a monthly membership.
Oh, wonderful. For maintenance. And
yeah, and things come up. And there's accountability in that as well. I don't hold back on my patients if I need to remind them to drink water or maintain their follow-ups with medical practitioners and other disciplines. Then yeah, I like to offer that accountability.
So you mentioned water a couple times. So do you find that hydration affects, posture and muscle health?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I wanted to put myself out of business, I'd get a billboard reminding people to drink more water. It is spectacular. And for every evaluation, there's reminders in place to let people please come well hydrated. It's fascinating. And it isn't just like drinking water one day and it can fix things. It takes consistency. It's more of a process of irrigation than just filling up a vase. Mm-hmm.
Even in my business, our skin health, when we're dehydrated, our skin lacks luster and it doesn't look the way we want it to. So yes, from the inside, it's really important to keep that hydration going.
Yeah, amazing habit to get into. I think I read one study of men who had issues urinating throughout the evening with prostate issues later on in life, and they determined that it was better for them to drink water in the morning, that the body was actually better primed to take the water and integrate it. Mm-hmm. So if you're having issues peeing throughout the night, one thing to consider is take like maybe 75% of the water you're drinking throughout the day and just get it over with in the first few hours. You're going to pee a lot in the morning. Yeah. But then that water is...
prefer that to at night.
It is preferable, yes.
Do you find that other things, non-water substances like, say, soda, complicates that issue?
I think it's... my late wife, she was a nurse and she worked at Advent, and part of her training, they taught this 80-20 rule on nutrition. Okay. 80% of the time, eat and drink what you should.
Yes.
20% of the time, have at it.
Go for it.
And I think that there's a lot of, dare I say, even like neuroticism around it. Like, I have to be perfect. No, we don't. So even this morning, I was down at Yes Coffee, my favorite coffee shop. Little plug there. I love that shop there.
It's good.
And they had this like natural soda, and it was like elderberry. It was like an elderberry syrup seltzer. And I'm like, yeah, I want a soda. But I typically do tell patients, no, water is water. If the focus is hydration, no, coffee doesn't count. Tea doesn't count. Water is water.
Yes. Well, I'm going to have you hold that thought. We're going to pause for a break from our sponsor. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, and my guest today is Dr. Joshua Wright from Pivotal Health Systems. Before the break, we were talking about different aspects of chiropractic care. But when you and I met a little while ago, we talked about a commonality we had in our upbringing. So we both grew up in New England. And when I was a kid, we went to the Salem Witch Museum routinely on field trips. And as to remind our listeners, the Salem witch trials occurred in Massachusetts in the late 1600s, and many people were accused of witchcraft, and many were executed. And you had an interesting take on what happened during that time.
Yeah. So for my chiropractic degree, I was planning on practicing in Connecticut, so I needed to get a 4-year degree before beginning chiropractic school. There's some accelerated programs where some overlap is allowed. And I believe in Florida, you need to finish the 4-year degree before starting the DC program. So it worked out. Yet, so I was studying biology, and I got a bachelor's in biology, and I had room for one elective, had already done my anatomy, my neurology, all the stuff that I needed and wanted to do. And there was this one class called Mushrooms, Mosses, and More. And I read the fine lines, and it was essentially going on hikes, collecting mushrooms, mosses, and more, bringing them back to the lab and seeing what's going on. And it was fascinating.
That sounds fun.
It was fascinating. We went out on a hike through this like old abandoned zoo, and we found a sphagnum bog, where you could like jump on, and you felt like the entire ground shake. It was fascinating, and it was a really good reprieve for me just to kind of like reconnect with nature, and because the human system is a part of nature.
Yes.
Yet looking at it under a microscope or on a cadaver table, it's very easy to just get the blinders on and say, okay, this is how things work. But something about getting back into nature helped me have an appreciation for how we fit into everything. And I got to write a paper about a theory, a hypothesis on what had happened with the Salem witch trials. And they, people much smarter than I, they went through and they looked at the crops, because it all started with kids that were seeing things and losing control of their bodies. And they went through to these families, and they all, I forget the name of the crop, but it was a crop that was susceptible to, I believe, ergo mold, a specific type of mold. And that mold is also used to create the substance LSD. And so the theory purports that these kids, because they were much smaller, as they were eating this, I think it was a type of grain.
I think it was rye, if I read correctly.
I think it was rye. They were essentially having a dose of a psychedelic, and then their systems were responding accordingly. Now, back then, they weren't able to say, "Oh, yeah, that's the bad crowd." Yeah. It was taken as, we don't know what's going on. Our children seem to be in danger. They're freaking out. We're freaking out. We're going to do something about it. And then the witch trials
That's how it all
fell
began.
after that. And so, yeah, that's why we try to avoid having mold in our food.
Well, mold is bad, unless it becomes cheese, maybe.
Yeah, we us humans, we're able to leverage things for, penicillin, and also, so there's symbiosis that's necessary and desirable. But yeah, no, it was an interesting take.
Yeah. So that period of time, there was a lot of fear, and that fear caused certain behaviors. Have you seen maybe things in more recent times where we've seen fear affect behavior?
I see it in myself daily, I'll be the first to admit. And I always say that fear is an opportunity for courage. And,
I like that.
Yeah, my namesake Joshua, I always would read through the book of Joshua in the Bible whenever I start to get a little out of touch with, okay, who am I? What am I? And then I always look to him, Joshua himself, almost as a mentor and someone I really looked up to. And he was called to be courageous. So I think fear is healthy, it's natural, yet it's a fork in the road. And fear can either call us into isolation, or it could call us into being productive, pragmatic. And straight out of school, when I was just getting started in practice outside of Cleveland, Ohio, hung my shingle. I found a very busy, very profitable practice, was so excited to get started, hung my shingle. By the end of the week, the COVID lockdowns went into place.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I wasn't going to be getting the experience that I wanted. And I was ready to reach people. I was ready to make a difference. And what happened is in Ohio, chiropractic offices were kept open to help prevent emergency room overflow.
Okay.
So the theory was that if someone had back pain, then we're going to keep the chiropractic offices open so that someone can go and get an adjustment or have their back pain assessed and treated, so that the emergency rooms, the urgent cares, they're going to be more available for potential COVID cases and other emergencies. So we were open, and that was happening. We were having people coming through with spinal issues, yet there were some folks that would come through with a desire to protect themselves, to improve their immunity.
Yes.
And there was a lot of fear in them. And it isn't really what I signed up for. I already had training in nutrition. The chiropractic program by default will have training in nutrition. Then I had some post-grad training in nutrition response testing, applied kinesiology with nutrition as well. And I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy educating people, helping them understand how the body's going to respond, and helping people maintain consistency either with supplements, with herbs, and seeing differences there. And oftentimes the chiropractic adjustment can provide immediate results. Or even within a few weeks, there's usually a turnaround, starting to turn around, or at least a migration of symptoms where we can see momentum moving in the right direction. But seeing things turn around with nutrition and giving people confidence.
Yes.
Because whether it's courage or confidence, that's how we combat fear. And fear is going to happen. And if anyone says that they don't have fear in their life, then no, they're kind of in the fainting goat, parasympatheticonia state of things. Because life, I believe that life is about facing fears and working through them, and being able to, and as folks come to you for skin health and such, there's a fear aspect in that as well. As how do I look, how do I feel the way that I want to, and what can I do? But then having the tools, having the knowledge, once that empowerment is there, we could just blast right through that fear. And I think that's what life's all about.
Yeah, and I think during that particular period of time, during those COVID months, a lot of my clients just wanted to have something they could control. Like for us, they would come for hormone optimization, because hormone optimization is linked to a healthier immune system.
Yes.
So they could control that. They could get a vitamin C IV. They could control that. But there was so much else out there, well beyond our control, even our understanding at that time.
Oh yeah, it was a great awareness, and and hopefully, we'll be better prepared next time it comes through.
Oh,
but
man.
I have seen a shift in culture. Maybe it's just my Facebook feed, and maybe it's part of the demand that you felt in starting the podcast. But people are hungry for knowledge, and whether it's misinformation or not, I think with time, just as a society, we can kind of filter through what works. But there is such a drive into greater levels of activity, greater nutrition. I feel so much momentum as a chiropractor. I feel like I'm riding the wave, and it's very nice to see people have that genuine interest in what do I do for myself and my family, aside from just waiting for the next surgery or the next medication.
Yeah, if there was one positive thing from the pandemic, I saw so many people outside exercising, riding their bikes. And like, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, and for which states allowed it. In Ohio for a little bit, there was like, no, don't go outside. And I'm like,
oh, no.
Okay, well, rules were meant to be broken. No, but and so, that awareness, and hopefully that sticks. I feel like humans, we kind of have a built-in forgetter sometimes, and when the times get hard, then we need to remember what works.
Yes.
And if it works in the toughest of times, then that can carry over, and I hope it does. I think with the internet and social media as it is now, we have a tool to flood the airwaves as you're doing, and thank you for doing this and building these awarenesses around what works. Because there will always be that desire for people to be healthy and maintain health. And any of your listeners, if you're listening to this, kudos to you, because we need more people taking interest in their own health, because the primary doctor is the doctor within. Any feeling that you have, anything that your body is communicating to you, that's the doctor within trying to let you know what it needs, and that needs to be honored.
Wonderful. And then people like you can help people discover the doctor within and help educate the doctor so we can all take good care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for joining me today. Tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah. The best way to get in touch with me is coming through to a monthly workshop that I host called Self-Care Boot Camp. And as I work with people, it's very passive, lie on the table, 5-10 minutes, and I do work to kind of do some hardware updates, software updates as I describe them on the body. Yet I'll ultimately recommend certain exercises. Get a massage gun, $30 on Amazon. Use it this way. Hit these trigger points. Consider having this food and having kiwi before you go to bed. So there's all these biohacks that I end up just oozing. So every month I'm going to be doing a workshop where people can just kind of tap into me. It's very Socratic and it could go in any direction. So come through to one of those workshops.
Yes.
And
Is it at the same time or day? Or does it vary?
That's up to my assistants. I just
Check out your website and find out.
following on Facebook is a great idea as well. And then we have an epigenetic coach come through and speak more on how to avoid toxins. So we're hosting 2 events, at least one event, but sometimes 2 events monthly. And if we're a great fit, then we'll schedule an evaluation and get you plugged in and tuned up.
I love that. I'm going to have to check that out too.
Yeah, please come through.
All right. Well, thank you again. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. If there are topics you would like to hear, please send an email to radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out our past episodes on Amethyst Wellness YouTube, and please like and subscribe. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live your healthiest, most energized life. Until then, stay healthy, and here's to your best life.